Welcome to a short reflection by Sebastian Mathud on Canto 31 of Dante's Purgatorio. Beatrice, having completed her explanation to the angel choir, turns back to Dante and forces him to confess his sin in abandoning her, that is, divine revelation, to the pursuit of philosophy unaided by divine light. Dante cannot speak, his voice dying in his throat as he shatters into tears and speechlessness. She continues, "What yawning moats, or what stretched chain links lay across your path?" In essence, nothing prevented Dante from continuing his pursuit of her, even beyond the death of her corporeal form. Finally, Dante is able to cry out an explanation, and Beatrice accepts the confession. She then proceeds to tell him about his problem, which lay in the very death of her body. If her living form, which had so inspired Dante, could fall dead and corrupt, then so could any created thing. His witness of that should have spurred him on to his pursuit of the Creator, the one who is uncreated. Dante, whose head is hanging, is told to raise his beard, that is, the sign of his being a fully grown man, who should stop acting like a child, and look at her. The reprimand at an inn, Beatrice turns her face to the griffin, whom Dante describes as two natures in one person. Dante realizes that in turning her face to Christ, even veiled, it outshines its first self by as much as she outshone all mortals formerly. Dante's recognition that every created thing he ever held on to in the world below now appears to have been a stumbling block is too much for him. He faints, only to come to in Matilda's arms as she pulls him across the river and tells him to drink from it. Dante does so, and the water has an immediate effect on him. Now that Dante's been washed of any memory of sin, Matilda leads him out of the river to the dance of the four maidens, who symbolize the cardinal virtues. They claim that they were Beatrice's handmaidens before she went to earth, which Ciardi explains as likely meaning that the four cardinal virtues were ordained to be the handmaidens of the Church, even before it was founded. These maidens lead Dante to the griffin, behind whom Beatrice is waiting, and both tell him in unison to look deep into Beatrice's eyes. This is the first Beatific Vision, for the eyes are the window to the soul, and Dante is now looking into them and seeing the griffin reflected therein. Dante is not yet ready, Ciardi notes, to see the two natures as one, and he will not be able to do so until he makes it to the final sphere of heaven. Ciardi further notes that Dante does not achieve his revelation by looking at the griffin itself, but rather by looking at its reflection in the eyes of Beatrice, as the Church. At this moment the three maidens who are the theological virtues approach, and they implore Beatrice to remove her second veil and show Dante her smile. This is the second Beatific Vision, for the smile demonstrates Beatrice as the personification of divine love, and this throws Dante into rapture. Dante's come a long way from his first meeting with Beatrice when he was 9 years old, and here he is making the confession that he meant to make to her all his life, that she completes him, allegorically, that is. Confession is hard, for it means packing up all the unnecessary but perceived to be essential baggage on which we've come to rely as essential to our identity, and placing it at the foot of the cross, with the expectation that now we will live without it. It's very easy, though, to stand back from the cross after we've laid our baggage down, and pick back up a few pieces that we think we'll need again before departing and making our way back onto the streets. Dante's got an advantage in swimming across Lethe, though, and that he'll actually be able to leave all that baggage behind and walk on unencumbered. He's completely washed away any memory of sin, meaning that his confession and his penance were one and the same, and he'll never have to revisit his personal sins in his memory. He can, in the words of Christ, really go and sin no more. Standing before Christ in his revelation, we can see with St. Thomas that all of our other doings amount to little more than straw, a revelation in itself that is transformative in the sense of its being life-changing.